Hey guys, you're back at Unfiltered in 2018. I hope you had a great festive season. We're back this week with Clint Newton, former foe, really good friend of mine for the last 15 or 16 years. Obviously you are, one of the head guys at the RLPA, but, let's talk a bit of rugby league first, mate. Sometimes you want to just sort of step aside and just talk to these young kids when they're, 16, 17 years old and go, you know what? You don't have to be the most talented person in the room. You just need work ethic and drive. And I don't think anyone's ever had that more than you.
Oh, thanks, mate. I think that's big part of why I'm a part of the RLPA. Because it gives me a great opportunity to actually try and give some of the current players and the future players the tools that they need to understand how do you stay in the game, how do you make a career out of playing rugby league. And I think one of the key things that a lot of people forget, or the two things that I put it down to, is belief. Belief in yourself, and also creating belief from other people and relationships. I think that that's a really crucial part of how you stay in the game, because you've got to understand that you can't do it on your own. You're not going to get there on your own. You're going to need people to help you at different stages, and you're also going to have to make some tough calls and cut some people away that may not be acting in your best interest to be able to play rugby league. But adaptability was always something that I was big on, and getting used to rejection pretty early is a key thing. And I think that the sooner you understand that everything's not going to go your way all the time, and you learn to accept rejection and use it as an opportunity, I think that's a really key thing.
To get rejected when you're 15, 16, 17, when you're maturing, it can just send you either way.
100%. I think that, unfortunately, mate, we're in a world now where everything's instant. Everything must happen now, and if it doesn't happen now, why not? And I think that's a really key thing with our future players and future people within society, is understanding that, yes, we want to get there quick, which is fantastic. But at the same time, getting there quick, you can't bypass hard work. And I think that's a really key thing with a lot of people, is the fact that everyone wants to get there. There's no doubt about that. But understanding where you are now and how you can get there, there's a big difference there. And that comes from having strong leaders within your team and within your club. But the big part that I'm really interested in is why not? Why are they not going on? And I think that's a much deeper question. It's a much harder question to answer if you don't properly invest in people. And that's where clubs are now, where they are investing more into people. They do understand the benefits of wellbeing and education, and understanding the fact that the 24/7 athlete is not sustainable. And that's a really crucial part of what we do, but also the role that the NRL and rugby league plays.
Talking about building careers and hard work, I look at Cooper Cronk, look at Jonathan Thurston, Cameron Smith.
Oh, I think the ones that stay in the game the longest, not only have they got something outside of rugby league to focus on, but they are the ones that are prepared to work hard and adapt and understand change and how not everything's going to be all, roses, throughout your career. You're going to have to go through some tough times, whether it's injury, loss of form, suspensions, relationship breakdowns, both internally and externally. Those types of things, they happen. But I've always been a true believer in hard work does pay off. And I think that I always look at Andrew Johns and Danny Badiris and those types of players what the fans saw, they saw on the weekends. I'm a big believer, in the fact that if we're creating better people in our game, then that's something that we can really hang our hats on. And those guys, they're not just one day a year type good people. Cooper Cronk and Billy Slater, they're 365 days of the year. I know Nicole and whatnot might disagree at various stages. No doubt Billy's not perfect all the time, but one of the things is that they've been on a journey themselves. JT went on a journey. So you are going to be faced with challenges in this career. But at the end of the day, the rewards far outweigh the negatives if you're prepared to hang in.
What is your role with the RLPA now?
Well, in its simplest form, the RLPA basically represents, protects and supports the current players under the NRL and under the RLC banner, whilst also ensuring that their well-being is protected and they're able to not just create good players, but we're able to create good people. And now we start to branch off into the women as well. So we're not just now representing the men, it's also women are a big part of this. And we're incredibly proud of the role that the men have played in acknowledging, the importance of that. But we're out there to work with all the stakeholders in the industry, and it's exciting. You're at the coalface. You're able to influence certain things to advance the game forward, and I think that's a really crucial part in what associations play within their sport.
And what has happened in between? From 2000 to 2012, it's because it looks like it's gone in from leaps and bounds, and you've got players in really powerful positions.
Yeah, I think it's been an amazing journey of the Rugby League Players Association. We've come a long way in a short amount of time. Tony Butterfield and the like that were really the trailblazers of the RLPA, set the foundations early, but they struggled to get the support, and they didn't have the resources that were required to properly represent the players. But what they did was set up the foundations that now the current group have been able to leverage off and actually have a huge amount of success with. And then with the guys like David Garnsey and whatnot, that they were hugely under resourced, but they were doing what they could with the tools they had. But we went away and we came back, and in 2012 there was a significant change. One of the biggest things that happened was the playing group started to galvanise together. And that's where really the journey started from 2012, where we made some significant changes to how we were funded and what we were going to do to be moving forward. And the players gave up a portion of the salary cap to help fund the association. Was then our ability to properly resource, properly manage and properly represent the players. And we went into the collective bargaining agreement in 2012, which started in 2013 and ran till 2017. And the players had a significant jump up in how they were represented, how they were remunerated, how they were protected and supported. And that came through player power. And we were very fortunate with guys like Jonathan Thurston, yourself, Jared Hayne, Robbie Farah, Paul Gallen, Cam Smith, Michael Crocker, these types of players, Greg Inglis, that got involved at the right time. So we were actually able to say, no, we actually want to be a genuine partner here. We want to get involved. And then that gave us, the opportunity to go into the CBA that we've just negotiated with these players that understand the importance of representing the collective rather than just, some of our elite players.
He's pretty much signed one of the biggest deals in sports history in Australia. So for a little game that's played on the east coast of Australia, that is ridiculous, you know what I mean? And congratulations to all you guys, because I'm pretty sure the players thank the hell out of yous.
The team that were a part of that, led by our board, we've had some great representatives on our board with and our advisory board with David Gingell and Deirdre Anderson and Russell Adams and the likes, and then we were led internally by Ian Prendergast, who came from the AFL Players Association, and he recruited Tim Lyth, that was a part of the Rugby Union Association and then Cricket Players Association. So I think that we had a very good team that had an amount of knowledge required to be able to advance the players, and but it couldn't have happened without player support. Yeah, because we are a representative of the players. We are powered by players. And the collective bought in, and we were, again, like I said, we were very fortunate that we've got a very unique group of players that are playing our game at the moment that genuinely care about the players around them.
And the next generation.
Yes, because they've now been able to, future-proof the game, and it's not just a great collective bargaining agreement for players. It's a good one for fans, for clubs, for states, for the game. And that's a big part of what we tried to advocate for throughout that process. And we are in a partnership now with the game, and the players are, their contribution is better reflected.
But we've got to address a big, massive elephant in the room, and that's just concussions. How do we overcome this? Like, do you just end up just not playing the game?
No, I think that, like anything, it's about how do we, keep moving the game forward, and how do we continually ensure that the game is played at its safest level. We're always collaborating and in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer at the NRL, in Dr. Paul Bloomfield, and we are very advanced in this space. Again, it's something that will always need to keep evolving, but the right amount of funding is required, and this is not just going to come from sports governing bodies or player associations. It's going to require some government funding to be able to properly invest in this space.
As we say, Will, all the time, it's we're more of a reactive society. We're not proactive. Like, do we have to be the dummies to be walking around and forgetting our names in 10 years? Like, the government has to put in money, like ASAP, to do all this research now, so we can get on top of it, I think. Because obviously I don't want us to be that generation, or all the guys who played in the 90s or the 2000s and stuff like that, because, the head trauma is real, and let's not sugarcoat it. Some of our mates, the memories weren't too good at the start compared to what they are now. And I don't want it to be in the next 1 to 10 years when we're 50 or 60 or whatever, to have one of our mates that played in the same sort of generation or generation before to be nearly brain dead.
Well, I think the key to it all is trying to put together the right amount of research, and that's going to require the right amount of investment to ensure that we, whatever we're doing, it's all, evidence-based, and we continually look to evolve, the various protocols that have been put in place, because it is a forever changing environment. But there has been a significant shift in the dial as well, from players that are now properly understanding the importance of managing injuries, and concussion is a big part of that. We played in an era where it was considered
a badge of honour.
Yeah, a badge of honour, and it was a stroking of the ego to be able to say, I played on with this. Yeah. And this is where the game has evolved, and it has come through the change of protocols, the change of environment, and the player associations and governing bodies working together to be able to safeguard some of these things. And as I said, we do play a contact sport, and it's about us working with other sports around the world, and we have had a number of discussions with the NFL, who are obviously taking concussion very seriously over there. But we all need to stay vigilant in this, and making sure that we've got an informed approach when we're dealing with things as significant as concussion or player health and safety.
I can honestly say, as a young kid or a young parent watching their kids play, I don't think they should be scared of playing rugby league. Because obviously they have a lot different rules, as a young kid compared to what the big boys play.
Well, I think we need to understand where the NRL is at, from a professional point of view, and where is grassroots and junior participation, because there's a long way between a child playing, at that age. But I certainly believe that we need to be the leaders. The game needs to lead these types of areas, which we are. And then that's going to trickle down into grassroots. And I think that we have made significant changes, and you see now, but it's come off the back of further education. We came through an era where concussion wasn't part of the education process. We're now doing a number of education, seminars with all the clubs to be able to have players better informed about what to look for, how to understand the environment that they're playing in, and how to look after each other. We played again in an industry with an environment where if you got knocked out, a player would, say, just get up and get on with it. We're now playing in an era where players are trying to look after each other. And everyone, it's an all-in approach. Everyone is taking taking that approach. You saw in the NFL no less than a few days ago where a player got ruled out in the biggest game of the world, due to a concussion.
So absolutely folded as well.
Yeah, so I mean, but that's the thing, and players play a real key role in this. And the more we educate our players, and the more they understand the process that needs to be worked through to safeguard their future and to allow them to go on and live long and prosperous lives is a really key factor in it all.
What is the RLPA doing about players that have recently retired in the last 5 years?
Yeah, well, obviously there's been an investment in that space, both from the game, from the NRL, and through the funding that the RLPA have collectively bargained for. So we have people in those roles, and they do a tremendous job. And but again, it's one of those things, Mace, that you can do as much work as possible prior to exiting the game, but you will always feel a disconnect when you remove yourself from the game. So I think we have to be very honest with ourselves about you're not going to be able to stop all the feelings that you get when you transition out. But it's certainly our job, and the people within the game, both at Clubland and at the NRL, and the people that are employed in that area, which, as I said, with the wellbeing education managers at each club, who do a great job, who are at the coalface. It's about offsetting the amount of pain that you do go through, because there is a part of that occurs that I was talking to people the other day about it, and mate, in its simplest form, it's like the laughing stops. But by giving players the tools that give them the confidence to be able to go and engage with people is going to help them build relationships outside of rugby league.
Going into next year, what is going to happen with player payments with this international game? Because we really need to go off the back of this.
We negotiate NRL contracts and player payments and all the money that comes into the game, which is generated, through the NRL. We advocate for and represent and protect, NRL contracted players. The Australian Kangaroos, they sit within that sphere as well. The other nations, like New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, PNG, England, because we have English representatives, they are their own international body. So we don't have jurisdiction right now to be able to go in and negotiate on behalf of Fiji or Samoa or Tonga, because we aren't their representatives right now. So where there was a lot of conjecture about this during the World Cup with about the disparity of pay. If we can draw an example to the EPL, it would be like the EPL paying...
English Premier League?
The English Premier League. It would be like the English Premier League playing for the Spanish team or the Italian team, because they have Italian and Spanish representatives playing in the EPL, or the ARU paying for the All Blacks. So that's a really clear distinction there that we've got to work through. So, but it's a space that we are incredibly interested in. Because that is, our players. We have, as you say, and over, nearly 50% of our players are represented in that space. But it is about players getting organised as well in that space, and understanding what representation they need, and how they may be able to use us to assist them moving forward. Because at the moment, you would suggest that it's the RLIF, who is the international body, they don't have very many forms of revenue that come in. So there's not a lot of money that comes in. It comes through the World Cup predominantly, and it's about how do we then manage the pay disparity that is happening across the international game.
Going back to players and the amount of games that we do play, we play 25 games, we get one bye. And there's still a lot of players, in the last 5 or 6 years saying we're playing too much football. We've canned the NRL Indigenous AllStars games, which I thought was one of the best things that we've done in the last 10 years of rugby league. the Nines have gone.
I think it's important to call out that the Indigenous AllStar game, which is a tremendous initiative, and the Nines was put off for 12 months based on the World Cup, because we were going to have a significant amount of players that were going to probably be unavailable for those tournaments. So I think the game, well,
they're still not playing in this year as well.
Yeah, but it's on the back of a World Cup year. So it was going to dovetail into the 2018 season. So it was also about managing the load of those players, during that process, because they also need to be protected from a leave point of view, and understanding, they need to be given the right amount of leave to prepare and recuperate and come back for another season of NRL. So I think that where we're at the moment, obviously, the amount of games that have been locked in is part of the broadcast agreement. But I think that where we're also at is the game is very much prepared to work with the players and listen to the players, which we've been able to provide them a voice through the RLPA to understand what does it look like for them. What are some of the issues that they're facing on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis? But I think that through various things, like the Workloads and Balance Committee and the Competition Committee that's been set up, we're able to provide groups to have these discussions about, let's have a look at the game. How do we continually try and advance it forward? And how do we also manage the game's greatest asset, which are the players, to be able to ensure that the best players are playing as much as they possibly can, to be able to give the fans what they want, which is a quality game on the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of complexities involved in that.
You touched on community and everybody sticking together, and how rugby league is a fraternity. It was great to see everybody come together. It was sad to see the young kid Kato Oto pass away in the last month, but to see people rallying around like the Raiders, Widnes, RLPA, NRL doing what you did was great, and I think everybody will be thankful over in PNG.
Yeah, I think once again, it's one of those tragic events that you hope never has to occur. But out of that, comes an opportunity to see just how big of an impact he had on so many people, both at the Raiders and in PNG, and in the time that he played in the NRL, and obviously the community, the support, and the wave of support that was given through a pretty tragic time for a number of different people. I think it's a credit to the game, and it's a credit to him, and it's a credit to the people that were able to bring him, raise him, that he's been able to have that sort of level of impact on so many people.
Yeah. Rest in peace, brother. Thanks, guys, for joining us. It was great to have Clint Newton here. He's a great mate of mine. He's always on my case, because I'm always, blurting out the wrong things and here and there, and he's always there to check up on me so I don't sound like an idiot most of the time. So, pleasure having you, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mace, and thanks for having me a part of your show, and wish you all the very best for 2018, and just hopefully Rennie and the crew can keep that leash on you.
Good luck. Cheers.